Welcome to today's CPD session with TTA. Thank you to Mandeep Singh, who's joined us today to deliver this session. The topic today is leveraging reviews and testimonials to build trust and brands. So Mandeep, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Julius, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm really looking forward to sharing my own experiences, my own learnings, and any golden gems that I've picked up on the way. Looking forward to hearing from yourselves what's worked well, and any questions you may have. By all means, I'll be sharing some information at the end if you'd like to continue the conversation, so feel free to connect after. And if anyone has any questions that are relevant to what we're talking about currently in the topic, in the moment, please feel free to type them into the chat. I think Julius will keep an eye on the chat. We'll aim to have a 10-15-minute session of Q&A towards the end, because I appreciate it's quite a big topic, a really interesting one, and there might be a lot of questions. So I've sent a message in the chat, and if you didn't get a chance to, don't worry about it. But we're going to go through those links that I've sent mutually a little bit later on as well. Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate the feedback. So that was just a bit of a start activity. And for any of you that had a chance to look through the Google reviews, my LinkedIn recommendations, and the website, specifically focusing on the testimonials, what kind of content people are, what kind of content I'm posting. Does anyone recognize anything interesting or spot anything? Feel free to shout out or just drop a message in the group. And Melanie said testimonials are very clear and easy to read. Okay, thank you. Anyone else spot anything? Would anything stand out to anyone else?
Yeah, and this is a bit of a technical one. Your location on Google, it seems to span across Europe, the UK, and Turkey.
Yeah.
And I know it's tricky to get Google reviews if you don't have a location, because I tutor all remotely. So I'm curious as how you've done that.
James, you've jumped ahead and spotted something that I was going to clarify. That's a problem on my end. I need to actually put a location in Google because I don't have a set location. I'm virtually teaching at the moment. But chances are I'll put my accountant's address or an office that I can use. So yeah, that's something that I need to work on, and you've already spotted it, so thank you. But yeah, that wasn't done on purpose. But things that need to be ironed out in the Google profile. Brilliant. Well, I'm going to crack.
It wasn't a criticism. It's because I haven't been able to get Google reviews because I don't have an office where customers can visit, and that's been an issue for me.
Got you. Well, hopefully, I get what you're saying now. Thank you. Hopefully, I'm in a similar position, and hopefully I can give some of the guidance that will help you overcome that, even without an office, right? And me spanning all the way to Turkey and back. Brilliant. So I'm going to start by just introducing who is Mandeep, what am I about, and my background, and a bit about the Scholar Tutoring, the company that obviously I run and direct. After that, we'll go into what's going to be involved in the rest of the session, and then we'll crack on to the juicy bits. So my background is I'm a qualified secondary maths teacher. I qualified with the King Edward's Consortium, which is a large consortium of secondary grammar schools and independent schools around the West Midlands area. I spent 6 years teaching secondary maths and had been tutoring since my time at university when reading maths at Birmingham. And then 2 years ago, took the leap to actually start tutoring full time. I worked at King Edward's Boys, which is a leading independent school in the West Midlands. Really enjoyed my time there, but realized I've got kind of a pathway now to decide. I either stick it out here, join the queue for promotions in that school, which was very, very long, by the way, because of the kind of nature of the school, or I take a jump and try something different. And here we are with tutoring. My current role is as the founder and director of the Scholar Private Tutoring. I mainly work as a senior maths tutor and also the lead educational consultant. In terms of the company's growth, it started off with just me as a lead maths tutor, one-man band, and then very quickly the demand increased, and I was very blessed to have a lot of clients coming in. So then started branching out to people I knew from either school, friends that were teachers or educators as well. And now we've grown to an agency with 15 tutors that cover maths, STEM subjects, economics, English, and other subjects on demand. And now increasingly growing into educational consultancy services such as interview prep, university guidance, school placements, all that kind of stuff. Looking forward, my aims as kind of a career path is to help other educators and business owners within the education space to develop their teaching craft, develop the consultancy side of their business and also continue developing mine. And I'm currently on the hunt to attract the best tutors and provide them with the best clients and support for them. So that's a quick introduction about me. What's the aim of today's session? So I hope by the end of it, you'll find it to be a practical session on how you can collect, present, and strategically use reviews across a bunch of platforms and start to introduce things into new platforms if you're not already using them. The main three we'll be focusing on is LinkedIn, Google, and general social media, as well as a website if you have one. If you don't, no problem at all. The main aim is to strengthen your credibility, one, with clients, other tutors, and the general educational network, and also attract the right clients and build a clear professional profile so you get the kind of clientele that you're after. I hope that makes sense. And if anyone's got any questions about that, feel free to pop them in the chat. So there's so much to talk about in this session. I've got a few key points that I really want to hone in on. But what I'd like to do is to hear from you all before I start babbling on. I'd like to take a minute or two to ask any of you if you have any specific questions or things that you want to get advice from me on based on the links that you may have seen already, or just general questions you may have. I'd really appreciate you all just sending a message in the chat just so I know that I've covered as much of the content or the questions that you may have. Because the last thing I want to do is talk about X and you all were thinking about Y. So I'm just going to leave a minute or so. If anyone has anything specific that you've come in thinking, I hope Mandeep speaks about this, now's your chance to put it in the chat and we'll reconvene literally within 1 minute if that's okay, Julius. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect, Mandeep.
And yes, I'm a Man United fan. Thank you to those of you that sent some questions. Having a quick read through them. I'll give 30 seconds to anyone else that might be typing anything in. Okay, great questions. Thank you all. And touch wood, I was planning to cover most of what you all said as well. So yeah, I think most of that's already been captured in what I was hoping to talk to you all about. So that's perfect. And there's a few points I'll hone in on specifically as we get to them. If anyone else has any questions that come as we go through, please feel free to put them in the chat. Brilliant. So the aim is, as I've already mentioned, 45 minutes to talk and discuss with you all, and then a 15 minutes Q&A right at the end. As mentioned previously, if you've got something relevant to what we're talking about right now, drop it in the chat. If it's something slightly different, then just save it towards the end. Brilliant. Okay, so the first thing is overview of asking for testimonials, reviews, and in essence, getting someone to shout about you. It can be quite an awkward thing, and it can be quite a daunting thing to ask of that. So how do we overcome that, and what kind of mindset should you adopt? A quick question for you all. What's the best story you've ever heard in your life? And I'm conscious of time. I don't want to keep asking people to type things in, but if anyone's got the best story they've ever heard in their life, I'd love for you to just type it into the chat right now. You're probably thinking, what on earth is he on about? How is this helping? There's a point to this. And hopefully you doing this exercise will make it stick. And anyone, feel free to shout out, actually, best story you've ever heard in your life.
A friend told me a story about the time he got lost in London before mobile phones were a thing.
Okay.
And he ended up in a clothes store in the middle of the night. I don't know how. And he slept underneath a rack of clothes. I can't remember the details of it, just that he slept underneath a rack of clothes. But I remember being in absolute stitches when he told it.
Brilliant. And I'm assuming you were laughing throughout And the way you told it was kind of probably a little bit dramatic, right? And as we do with all of our friends, we don't just tell the bare bones. We add a bit of spice onto it.
Oh yeah, it was quite enough to make it more entertaining.
Good. My point being is, why am I asking you to reflect on the best story that you've ever heard? The reason is because often it's not the story, the content of the story that matters, it's how it's told. And it's the exact same thing with your successes. I can guarantee if I went to all of you individually, you'd have so many success stories of, I helped this student do this, I helped this parent navigate this student got into this school, whatever it is. But the content itself is pretty much useless. It's how it's being told. And that's the biggest thing I want you to get into kind of the mindset of, is how do I leverage and squeeze every bit of goodness out of every achievement I've got. Now, the key thing is, don't lie. You can't lie about what you've done, because people will figure it out very quickly, and it's just not ethical. And to be honest, it doesn't help in the long run. So be genuine about your success stories, but there's a knack and a way in which we can make sure as many people hear it in the best way possible. And that's what I want you to think about, and hopefully see some examples that have worked for me. Now, of course, not everything works, but I would say that based on feedback from clients, when they've come into the Scholar, something's obviously working quite well. This, I would say, grows exponentially. When you're trying to leverage or get a client review on Google or LinkedIn, the first ones are always the hardest. And I would say when you're starting off, grab absolutely anything you can get, whether it's a one-line review, a paragraph, a voice note, whatever it is. Get the smallest thing you can start with, and I'll talk about what that means in a little bit, and make the most of it. And what I've seen from my own traction is, the more reviews you get, the more testimonials you get, the more inclined other clients are to do it for you as well, if you showcase it in the correct way. Now, one thing to note, my general demographic in terms of the clients we support and the families we support are predominantly families or students from independent schools, mainly in central London. And therefore, my strategy will reflect that. Feel free to adapt it to yours. And if there's things that won't work for your business, take what works and leave what doesn't. And the biggest thing is, stop underselling yourself. I think there's a fine line between being big-headed, but also showcasing what you do really well. And often one suffers from the other. And it's about creating that balance. Now, I'm so sorry for whoever this is, this random guy, but I found your gift, and I'm very grateful for the fact that you've allowed me to use it. The thing is, you need to be your own biggest cheerleader. You need to get out of the comfort zone of not selling yourself, and reviews is one of the best ways of doing this. Okay, methodology. A lot of questions have come through about how do we go about asking. In a minute, I've even got a draft message that you're welcome to steal and adapt in your own way. How to actually ask. The biggest thing I've found that works really, really well is, don't make it sound like a big deal. I'll give you an example. I can see Greg here. Greg, I hope you don't mind me using your name. If Greg's one of my clients and I said, hi, Greg, hope you're well. If it wouldn't be too much bother, would you mind writing me a review? I know it might take up a lot of time, but, please, could you help me? Option one. Option two is, hi, Greg, hope you and Tom have been enjoying the services. It's been great working with you all. I'd really appreciate if you could give me a Google review. It helps so much with prospective clients. Sounds a lot more standard, and you're not making a big deal of it. Interestingly, the same comes with pricing. If you're babbling over, a £5 or £10 increase, they're going to think it's a big deal. If you say quick, succinct, and make it sound like it's normal, and like everyone else is already doing it, the psychology of conversation is such that they'll probably think it's normal and they'll want to do it anyways. So don't make it a big deal. That can be in the wording when you send them a message, or either on phone calls as well. In terms of text, I've even got a draft that I'll show you in a minute that will hopefully make a bit more sense as well. Be very specific about what you want. And what I've found is, if you leave it very open, saying, can you write me a review? Often clients might just say, great working with Mandeep, happy days. That doesn't have all of the bells and jingles you want in there, so that when other people read the reviews, they know exactly what they're going to get. And therefore, you can charge what you're worth. So tell them what you want and make their lives as easy as possible when you're requesting the reviews. Be super efficient. I've got a draft message that I'll show you in a second. have a draft request message that you can send to clients. Make sure you change their names, otherwise that gets quite awkward. And I've done it a few times as well. And also, you want to make this process very efficient for you. When you're requesting 10, 20 reviews over a year, it can start adding up in terms of admin. So I've got a few practical tools where you can make this as seamless as possible for you, so that you're not chasing clients all the time, because that kind of demotivates you in its own self. Then, if level 2 is actually drafting the testimonial or review for them, however, you can't put words into their mouth, but you can ask them to edit accordingly. Again, I'll show you an example. I'm just going to pause for a second. How does all this sound so far? Just give me a quick nod if everyone's with me. And if I'm skipped over anything, just give me a shout. Wonderful. Next, I would go to the length to say reviews and testimonials should be a key component of your business data. Manage it as if you would manage your finances, your client onboarding, anything else. So keep a log of 3 important things: who you've asked, who agreed to do it, and who's actually done it, and a different log for each platform. Because when you're asking 5, 6 clients and you've asked someone 6 months ago and then you asked someone last week, it's an absolute headache to keep an eye on. And don't rely on WhatsApp as well, because you'll be there all day. So let me give you some practical examples. And chase people, chase in the nicest way, but keep reminding them. And I've found, actually, due to the nature of family life, especially for those people that I work with, often they live very, very busy lives. They just simply forget. So periodically, I normally give it like 2 weeks, and I set a reminder to make sure I just drop them a nudge to say, by the way, whenever you get a chance, please fill this out. Okay, what does the tracker look like? This was something super quickly I put into ChatGPT. All of the data is absolutely made up, so they're not real clients. But I've got something very similar set up. So you can see with the parent name, the student name. Have I asked for the review? Have I sent the message? I normally ask on WhatsApp. You can send an email, whatever. Have they actually agreed to leave a review? They've said, yes, Mandeep, I will do this by next week or whatever. If they had said no, then either they haven't replied to you, or they've said, I don't want to do your review, which is not normally the case unless they found your tutoring not great, which is a different problem in its own right. And then have they actually completed it? Keeping a track of this, I would say, is vital. And often people ask for reviews, they don't chase them up because they don't have a system in place. What kind of platform have you asked? So I'll talk to you about the kind of layering of how I ask for reviews, and how I've even asked multiple clients for multiple reviews as well. So I normally go for Google or LinkedIn. What date did I ask? This reminds me when I need to nudge. If I've asked someone 2 days ago, I'm not going to nudge them straight away. If I asked someone 2 months ago, that reminds me, okay, I probably need to ask Michael again. Michael, quick heads up. I know you're busy. Can you get this done for me, please? When they completed it, and any notes. Here, what I do in my notes is if there's any really interesting ones that I might want to use on social media or showcase on the website, I'll make a note of it here. Notes can also mean I need to follow up in 5 days, or good for website. There's so many other options you can add to this, but the essence of what I'm trying to say is manage how you're asking and keep a track of who you're asking. Just on the tracker, does anyone have any questions? Okay, cool. And again, I'll share these slides with whoever wants them at the end as well. I normally just do it via my, what's the app I use? I use Notion, but you can use Google Sheets, Notes app, whatever. Okay, draft request message. So what I do on WhatsApp is I will literally copy and paste this message that I've kind of tailored to what I want clients to write for me. And then obviously you just adapt any of the orange parts. So draft request message. And after this, I'll talk about when should you actually ask for it. So hi parent, carer, or even students sometimes, especially if they're like sixth form students. I hope all is well. Would you mind writing me a Google review based on how student and you are finding the math support? If you can mention details such as the year, subject, and the context of the tutoring, and this is a specific example, I normally do this bit for them because sometimes the parents don't even know. So for example, if I'm teaching a year 11 student at an independent school, often it's IGCSE, EdXL, math support, put that in for them for student. put the name in, that would be amazing. Of course, don't need to add any personal details. However, a mention of the school would be super helpful. Put the school name in. So they know straight away, Mandeep's expecting me to put these things in. Therefore, when another prospective year 11 student's parents come along, they can see, okay, Mandeep's already done this. He knows what he's doing. So-and-so parent has already written them a review. This is the guy we want. The link to the review is here. I'd really appreciate anything you share. This helps so much with prospective clients. Off you go. And this, if I click it, will take me straight to my Google profile. And it literally just makes them straight away, it's there for them. Make their life as easy as possible. And you can share that link from your Google profile. A few people have asked questions about Google profile. I'll come to that at the end. Now, the only caveat and the asterisk here is if you're doing it via LinkedIn, I'll show you what I mean by a LinkedIn recommendation. Let me bring in my LinkedIn here. So this is my LinkedIn. So you can see Lisa, she was a parent from a year 13 girl I helped with IB Maths from Monaco. Rafaela, based in London. I even work with Keystone Tutors for any of you that know them. So Daisy, who's an absolutely amazing human being, she wrote me a review based on how my work has gone with Keystone. Jerry, again, is based in central London. His daughter recently got into Harvard, which was amazing. And he's written me a separate review for that. So in terms of LinkedIn, you have to do a slightly different process. You can only request testimonials from people that you're friends with. So what I would say with LinkedIn is use it sparingly with parents you trust and parents that are generally a bit more responsive. Google reviews is a quick, easy win. You just need a Google account, you can do it. LinkedIn, you need people that are on LinkedIn and have an account. So the first step is to send them a friend request. Once you've sent them a friend request, you can then go into your profile and ask them to review you or write you a testimonial. So it's kind of 2 stages. So just use that with people you're a bit more confident with, if that makes sense. The other thing you can do is once someone's written you a Google review, and if all is going well, you can say, right, thanks so much for this. Would you mind copy and pasting the same review onto my LinkedIn profile? I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to increase my presence on LinkedIn, and the recommendation would help so much. So they can just literally copy and paste it as well. Now with LinkedIn, I find generally parents are a little bit more hesitant. Either they don't want people knowing their son or daughter is getting tutoring, or they just can't be bothered to go into LinkedIn and do it. However, shoot your shots, and whatever comes through is amazing on LinkedIn as well. Okay, cool. Any questions on the draft message so far? Again, you can tailor this to your demographic or what you offer, but hopefully that makes sense in terms of the way I normally present this question. Okay, cool. Now, if a client, I've asked 2 or 3 times and they keep saying, I'll do it, or they just keep forgetting about it. What I've started doing over the kind of past 6 months is actually offering to say, look, I know you're busy. Would it help if I just wrote something based off what other clients have done in the past? And they're like, yes, absolutely. So here's one example. This is quite a chunky one because the lady who wrote this for me, I tutor 3 of their daughters. One's at St. Paul's Girls in London, one's at Wickham Abbey, and the third one actually I was doing 11+ tutoring for. So each paragraph has one about the other basically. And what I did was I drafted this for her and said, look, please amend as you wish. And she actually edited a few things and then was more than happy, and she went and posted it. So what I would say is based off these things, the specifics of the tutoring, the school, and specifically, what did you help them with? Was it interview prep? Was it homework? Were you accessible outside of lessons? The way I want you to think about this is when a new client comes to learn about you, what are the 5 main things you want them to know that you offer that is going to give you value added? Those things you need to make sure they're all in the testimonial. And that's what I've tried to do here. In my case, I want clients to know the kind of caliber of schools from which I'm supporting students from. So the schools are really important, the year, the subject, and also the fact that I provide WhatsApp support outside of lessons. So the main things you want people to know about you needs to be in your testimonials and reviews. Clients themselves will not put them in because they're not mind readers. So you need to tell them and give them a rough guideline. And in certain cases like this one, draft the message for them. This is the second one. So Rafaela, who I showed you earlier, she actually wrote me a Google review. And then 6 months later, her daughter actually got into a different sixth form. And I asked her for another review based on the new support, if that makes sense. And again, I drafted this for her. What did I want to highlight? The fact that I'd helped with 16 plus prep in terms of interview and subject matter preparation. And she's highlighted all of those things as well. And also I wanted people to know that her daughter's got into King's College in Wimbledon. So I made sure that was included as well. Again, this was a LinkedIn review, so I had to ask for the connection first before I did it. So that's draft messages. I'm going to pause there for a second if anyone has any questions on those. Okay, I hope people are finding this helpful. Otherwise, if you're not, just give me a shout and let me know what's missing. Google reviews, as mentioned by James, thank you. I need to actually update this location because at the moment I'm all over the place. But Google reviews, I would say, is your bread and butter. It's really important because the first thing we all do and people will do for us is Google your name or Google your tutoring company, whatever it is. And the first thing they're going to see, whether we like it or not, is this. And I'm really fortunate. I've been chipping away at this for the past 2-3 years, and I've got 63 Google reviews. My aim by the end of 2026 is to make sure I've got 100. And as soon as you see 63 Google reviews 5-star, that automatically gives some reassurance and some credibility to whoever's going to go on and check your website thereafter. So Google reviews, I would say, is your first point of, making sure you collect reviews and start this process. The other thing with Google profile, a few of you have mentioned, if you don't have a physical location, how do you do it? From my understanding, you can still set up a Google business profile. So make sure that's set. Should have a link to your website, a number. 2 things that I haven't done that are on my to-do list is to refine my office. At the moment, I think I just put Europe in, and therefore it's given this weird kind of bent kite thing. And the other thing is really helpful to give a bit of credibility is make sure you have a landline number on there. I currently haven't got that. I'm in the process of obtaining a landline. If you don't have a landline, you can redirect your mobile to a landline number for a small fee every month. Those things just add a level of professionalism that people know, okay, this person means business. Their things are professional. Let's find out what they're about.
Mandeep, I'd caution you against changing your office. If you don't have a physical location and you change it and it gets checked, you could lose your Google business account and all your reviews. So I would just keep it as it is and don't make any changes.
Okay, it's something definitely to look into. I've got kind of a, what do you call it? A virtual office, if that makes sense. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, I'll definitely check into that because the last thing you want is Google reviews being lost. On that point, thank you so much, James, for mentioning that. Back up all of your Google reviews. Google is a little bit fickle. They aren't necessarily verified. So what I do is every time I get a new Google review, I screenshot it and put it into a document so that if anything ever happens to my Google profile, I can use those thereafter. Same with LinkedIn as well, if that makes sense. So keep a backup document of all your reviews and testimonials somewhere safe. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, my mouse is having a bit of a moment. Let me just get back on. There we go. Sorry about that. Let me just reshare my screen. And I've got some questions that have come in as well. Yeah, someone said 4.7 over 10 years. I think that's really strong as well. Anything kind of, I guess, roughly speaking, over 4.5 is telling that, this person knows what they're doing. Yeah, in terms of anonymizing the details in the testimonial, 100%, I get that a lot. I get that parents don't want their school names mentioned. I think generally what I try and go for is year group and school name if possible. And if it's on Google, if it's on your Google review, it's a lot, and often the Google account is anonymized unless the parents put their profile picture up or whatever. If it's anonymized, they're more likely to do it. If they've got their face on there, then they might not want it. Alternatives of that is if you want the school to come out. In my case, what I do is I'll say, if they don't want to say, I don't know, Westminster, I'll say top London independent school or top London boys independent school or top London or top prep girls school within central London or in Switzerland or whatever it is. So there's ways of getting around it if they don't want to name the specific school. I would say definitely don't give up with it. and get them to try and describe the demographic of school that it is, if that makes sense. Great question. Okay, cool. And yeah, I was just going to show you. So in terms of reviews, well, we don't need to go through that. You guys can check the links out later. Website. So maximize your reviews and schools. For me, clients knowing what kind of schools my students are from is really big, because for independent schools, they want to know that I can kind of handle independent schools from students from very competitive schools. So for me, bragging and making a big deal of the schools I'm supporting from is really, really important. And what I would say is, as soon as someone enters your website, a review or a testimonial or some kind words about your service is going to put clients at ease and build trust really early on in the kind of website pipeline of a client looking at your services on your website. I would also recommend having a separate section for testimonials, but also have them scattered around the website at the bottom of the page, on the side of the footnote, whatever it might be. I'll show you my website fairly quickly. So if you go onto the home page, the third kind of pop-up is a testimonial, and I've also got a link going straight to testimonials as well. And here, for me, as I've mentioned, the school is really important. So you can see very clearly the schools that I'm supporting students with. I must admit, this has not been updated in 3 years. So I've got a lot to add on to this, and we're currently going through a website revamp. But hopefully you get a feel for the kind of layout and how I've gone about things as well. On other pages, you'll see testimonials at the bottom going through. I can't remember which pages it's on, but I've got like a scanning bar at the bottom that just kind of has different testimonials revolving as well. So that's what I meant by having your testimonials scattered throughout. Okay. My next step, and someone's mentioned this as well, is actually with parents that I've created really good relationships with, is actually getting them to do a video interview or a video tutorial. And I'm going to talk about how do you make that relationship and how do you even get to that level towards the end. So for me, the other step is on my website having school categories. So St. Paul's, Westminster, Eton. So parents that are looking from that specific school can say, okay, I want to see what parents have said about Mandeep from St. Paul's, or I want to see what parents have said about Mandeep from, I don't know, Holland Park. So my next stage now, because I've been blessed enough to collect enough testimonials, actually have school-specific testimonials, so parents can go in and see how I fend with that kind of school. I've already showed that. Okay, LinkedIn, last one, and then we'll start wrapping up. So LinkedIn, for me, has been transformational, and I think it's growing in its importance and also its power for tutors as well. And I would say that it's more for developing your own brand. It's under the radar for a lot of people because they normally try and associate their tutoring to their business, and rightfully so. But whether we like it or not, people are attracted to people. They're not necessarily attracted to the scholar. I would say they're attracted to the scholar because they know Mandeep's behind it, if that makes sense. And that's where your LinkedIn profile will really come in as value add. And what I would say is, especially parents that are working corporate jobs, when they Google you, one of the first things that's going to come up is your LinkedIn profile. So having that in order and having reviews or testimonials from clients on your LinkedIn is going to add a huge amount of credibility and therefore allow you to kind of get the price or the value that you're trying to get out of your services. As well as attracting clients, I would say it's helped me build bridges with other tutors, with other businesses. For example, last week I had someone reach out that wants to do from a local university that runs like a business podcast. And they said, look, I've seen your LinkedIn interview, your LinkedIn profile, seen your reviews. We want to do a podcast with you. So I had no intention of people want to do podcasts with me about education or tutoring. But because my LinkedIn profile, I've tried my best to keep it in tip-top condition. That's also attracting people that I had no idea I would attract. So what I would say is the doors and the possibilities with LinkedIn are continuously growing. However, your profile needs to be up to date. It needs to be clear. And also having reviews or testimonials from clients will definitely add to that power as well. And as I've already mentioned, when people Google you, your website will come up and chances are your LinkedIn will come up as well. Lastly, social media. As I've mentioned, any really nice or really special testimonials I personally put on my social media account. And for me, the main things I'll put on the school logo, make it clear what the focus was. In a few other testimonials I'll show you in a minute, I've highlighted things that I want people to read specifically. And where possible, add the student's or parent's name if permission is given, because that just adds again to the credibility of adding a real person behind who's saying it. So a few other examples are, there's one from Brighton College, and here a few things have been highlighted. At the top as well, I've been really conscious to explain what the support's for. So Westminster's entrance exam support, Brighton College, IGCSE math support, blah, blah, blah. Here was actually a student from La Rosie, which is a Swiss boarding school, that she didn't mind actually giving her name. So where possible, use names as well. Again, I had a parent of 2 different students, so I've put both logos in as well. You might have parents who you work with and you support multiple students. So that's always an option of doing a dual kind of testimonial. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pause there for a second. I've got about 5 to 6, 7. That's a really bad joke. Forgive me for that. I've got about 5 to 10 minutes left of speaking. And I want to throw in a bit of a bombshell that no one ever thinks about. Before I do that, how does all this sound and what questions do we have so far, if any? Feel free to type or just blurt out. And also, actually, at this point, I'd like to ask, is there anything I haven't mentioned that's been working for any of you? Because I'd love to know. And I'm sure everyone else would as well. Okay, seems like everyone's all right. We'll move on. So the one that rarely gets leveraged, what I would say is the game to getting testimonials and reviews is all about the relationship you have with the parents. Most of that will come from the service you provide. If you're a great tutor, parents will be a lot more supportive of giving you a testimonial or review. But also there's other things outside of your kind of tutoring tunnel you can do. And that is developing the relationship with the parent. And for me, the biggest way of doing that is through coffee. And you're probably thinking, what on earth has coffee got to do with it? It's meeting parents in person where possible. Ringing them over the phone, having a catch up with them. Often phone conversations are quite minimal and it's kind of a just general update. You might be able to just speak a bit more general to the parent and just, develop a relationship and even talk about non-tutoring things, but over the phone it's a bit more difficult. What I would say is get into the habit, if you can, and logistics allow, of meeting parents in person. So I've made it part of my business plan that I need to meet parents as much as I can. And as a result of that, I try and plan a trip to central London, because that's where most of them are based, every other month. So bi-monthly for me. If you can do it more because parents are local, amazing. And literally, I just meet them for a coffee. I go to them, I meet them in a cafe, normally for about an hour. I would say 5 to 10 minutes of that is talking about their son or daughter. The rest of the 45 minutes is just talking about life. I ask them questions. I'm a father to 2 young girls. One's 8 months old, one's 3 years old. They're, parents that are veterans. So I ask them about parenting tips. I talk to them about football. I talk to them about anything, right? I ask them for advice. I'm quite fortunate that a lot of the parents I speak with are very successful people. I ask them about business advice, and we end up becoming friends. My point being is, when you get to that level, especially with high net worth or ultra high net worth clients, they buy into people. And what I've started to find, especially over the past 3 to 4 months, is at that level, if that's the kind of clientele you're going for, they don't even care about a website. They don't care about your social media. All they care about is, my friend XYZ has said Mandeep's good. I don't care what the price is. I'm getting him for my son or daughter. And having an in-person meet is the most powerful way of building that relationship. So I would say, where you can, go and meet your clients for a coffee. And don't be too scared about going off topic and diverting away from talking about tutoring, because building a human relationship is gonna provide more value for you than a written testimonial could ever do, because they will go and shout about you off the rooftops. And also then, off the back of that, if you've got a very good relationship, asking them for a review is a million times easier. There's one question I missed over that I'm going to come back to. Someone asked, when should you ask for a review? I think there's a few touch points as to when I would specifically ask for a review. If we're kind of 3-4 months in and you've checked in with the clients a few times to how's the support going and it's all going positive, I'll ask then. Otherwise, after kind of an achievement, so someone's got a grade, someone's got into the school they wanted, someone did really well on a end of term exam, achievement kind of points are really good points to do it as well, assuming that the student and the parent achieve the goal, that is. So I would say those two things, if that makes sense. How do you organize that? Appointment slots, what time of day? So I try and base my London visits off when international clients are in London. So for example, there's a lady who's based in Portugal, but her daughter is at a boarding school here in England, and they're coming to check out universities in London in June. So I know my June visit is going to be based around her, and then I'll ask the other people that live a little bit more locally to meet up then. And yeah, I just offer a time slot, and literally kind of as you do with tutoring, I know I'm going to meet parent Y at 10 a.m. I'm going to meet parent X at 12 p.m. I'm going to have a break, and I'll try and do it over 2 days. So I'll stay the night in London personally. And to be fair, even if you only get to meet 1 or 2 parents, it's not easy organizing it, especially for very busy parents. Even if you get to meet 1 parent, I would say it's worth it, because what I've found is that relationship has grown into things that I can never have imagined. Business mentorship, advice, referrals to other clients, so much. And even just honestly, just making friends. I've made I would say 90% of the clients that I work with, I've met all of them at least once. So it's such, yeah. And once you've finished with their parent, with their students, with their son or daughter, they've got that relationship. They know me in person. They know what I'm about. You know, they like the way I operate, and they will talk to other parents within their circles about you. So coffee, coffee, coffee. Don't forget the coffees. And again, when you're asking for someone to meet you, make it sound like standard practice. A lot of parents will be like, what? Why does this tutor want to meet me for a coffee? This is a bit weird. No one's ever asked me this before, right? So I'll show you a message that I've sent to someone. The Portugal lady, actually, I said, when on the phone, when I spoke to her, I always try and engage whenever I speak to parents, if they're abroad, when are you in London? And I always say, look, it'd be lovely to meet up for coffee with you and student. Let me know when you're around. And the way I pitch it is I say, my next London trip for meeting parents or students is this time. Let me know if you're available. In their head, they're thinking, he's not just coming to meet me, even if I am. This is standard practice. Other parents are doing this. I should be meeting Mandeep for a coffee. So again, it's all about the psychology of how you pitch these things. Of course, don't lie, be genuine, but there's a way in which you pitch yourself that makes it sound as if this is just standard, right? Why wouldn't I meet him for a coffee? It's important to meet him for a coffee. So yeah, I thought I'd show you that snippet.
Quick question, Mandeep.
Yes, James.
On that, would you then use it as an excuse to ask for introductions?
I'll be totally honest with you. I've been in a very fortunate enough position where clients, I'm quite busy, and I'm not in a position where I kind of need more clients at the moment because things are super busy. However, if you feel that you've got a good relationship with the parent, definitely don't feel afraid to ask. I would say be careful of the timing. You don't want to have a coffee and start the conversation going, hi, lovely to meet you. By the way, do you have any friends that you could recommend me to, right? I would say if the relationship's built and you're on a good level with them, say, look, by the way, I'm starting off, or I'm at this point. If you've got any other friends or family that would recommend me, you know, I really appreciate you putting your word in. I think people are open to that. The only caveat would be, and especially within the independent sector, is parents not wanting to share you, because then your time slots are eaten up by the other parents. So it's just navigating that. But I would definitely ask. It's just demand.
Yeah, can I add something perhaps, James? You may want to do it in a subtle way, but again, it depends on the type of location you're in or parents you have. Some parents will like the direct approach and they're business minded, but some high-end clients like discretion. They will not want to share you with anyone. So you may do it in a subtle way. A few weeks after, you can say, well, I've got this referral offer. So do it in a sort of business type approach, but I wouldn't say no, because you sound desperate and they will think you've had this coffee for a purpose. So it will just destroy their mindset, but let it just happen. They will come to you without you asking.
Yeah, I think it's it's a very fickle line. It's a very blurred line. Like I mentioned Jerry earlier, like he goes out of his way to tell clients about me because I've been working with his daughter for 3 years. I'm working with his other daughter now. So I think honestly, James, it just depends on the client, the relationship, and just go with your gut and try it. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong, right? You'll know for next time. But for me, it's just learning to fail fast and figuring out how that dynamic is. So yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Reminders, I'm going to start wrapping up. Ask. If you don't ask, nothing will come. And when you ask, don't be apologetic. Ask as if this is something standard and something they should be doing. Hopefully the wording of the messages I've given you and also the examples I've given you will help. And even if you need to put on a bit of a front, if you're nervous, don't let them know you're nervous. Yeah. Go in, be confident, be clear, rehearse your speech if you need to in the mirror, do whatever it takes. I've read 3 or 4 books on the psychology of conversation. I'm more than happy to recommend them, but this is something that can be developed and you can train yourself to do, I promise you. So ask. And the more you ask, the better you will become at asking. That's, I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now. And again, when you're leveraging this, don't be afraid to use one testimonial in 4 different spaces. Of course, make sure you ask for permission, but generally if they've put it on your Google review, that can be transferred everywhere else as well. So LinkedIn, your website, your social media, and Google. One review should be able to be put onto 4 different spaces. How are your achievements? This is the last thing I'm going to share with you all, as well as keeping a log of the
Oh, I think Mandeep might have accidentally taken himself out of the room. So I'm just going to let him rejoin. He must have pressed the wrong button. If you do have any questions, though, in the meantime, for Mandeep for the end, you can put them in the chat and I will pick them up at the end and ask him. Welcome back, Mandeep. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just speaking to myself for 3-4 minutes. I'm not sure what happened there.
You've only been on for 20 seconds. So
perfect. Wonderful. Sorry, I was just talking about the achievements. So in terms of achievements, what I've started realizing is as time goes on, I'm forgetting who my students were from like 3-4 years ago. I can't remember their names. I can't even remember what I helped them with. So what I've started doing, and I'm going to show you this, is I've started creating an achievements log specifically of students that I've helped, and there might be things that I want to share about later. So I've blocked the student name, but I remember this one student, I helped her, and she went from a grade 4 to a grade 6 within the summer. 25 to 26, again, schools. I helped someone get into Wickham Abbey. That student got a Harvard unconditional offer, which was crazy for me. One student got onto the Latimer upper waiting list. One student got into King's College Wimbledon. And if there's any links, so like this link is actually from Harvard University of the client that got in because she got in through the rowing team. And the parents have already given me permission to repost that. So in my head, I'm thinking, right, I need to use that at some point, maybe feature it on my website. But it's just about collecting things so that when you have time to actually use this stuff, you've got it all in one place. If you're trying to hunt for it, like a year or 2 years backlog, you're never going to find it and it's a mess. So what I would say is as something develops, log it, whether it's a testimonial, whether it's you tracking who's been asked, who hasn't been asked. When something happens in your tutoring world, you deliver a talk, like even this now, I'm going to make a log of this, that I delivered this session on this day, because I don't know where it might come in handy going forward. So even make sure you keep a real clear log of your achievements as well. I just had a question, and anyways, someone just asked a question from you on Google. Okay, I'll come back to that in a second. And that's everything from me. Next steps are stay in touch. If you'd like a document with the draft messages that I've sent, all the slides generally, drop me a WhatsApp message, an email, or a LinkedIn. There's QR codes here. It'd be great to connect with you all on LinkedIn. You can scan it and just send me a request, and I'll get back to you shortly. You can message me on there. This goes to our business WhatsApp number straight away. So if you want to WhatsApp me, often I'm more than happy to have a conversation about things in a bit more detail if people would like, free of charge. I was very fortunate enough from the TTA community to have a lot of elder mentors that gave me time. So I definitely want to give back. So if there's anything you feel I may be able to help with, let me know. We can set up a 10-15 minute phone call and we can just have a chat. My email is there if anyone also wants to ask any further questions or request anything. And a massive thank you. Well, that's everything from me. I hope you found it useful, and there's some nuggets in there that you can go and use straight away from here. As mentioned, if there's any continuing questions, feel free to stay in touch with me. I'm generally quite happy to continue conversations. And I believe, Julius, we've got 7 or 8 minutes for a quick Q&A. I'll start with Lee Learning Hub, if that's okay. And then I think Julius is going to host the rest of the questions. Thank you very much. So I struggle to get my reviews across social media and rely primarily on Google. Have not updated reviews, testimonials, the website, not much going on LinkedIn. I think the answer is quite straightforward, to be fair. You need to set up a LinkedIn page, get a good banner. And you can even go into your LinkedIn page. Let me show you. You can do a members view on LinkedIn. So if you've got a business, you can ask someone on like Fiverr, or you can design it yourself on Canva. Make sure there's a clear banner. Again, be very clear about what it is you provide. And this may change as time goes on. I've got a book and appointment section. And even with your posts, just be active. And yeah, obviously your academic kind of experience and all the rest of it will play into it. So I would say set up a LinkedIn profile. Even if you're not in a position to actually start asking clients for LinkedIn testimonials, if you ask a client for a LinkedIn testimonial and your LinkedIn page is a bit shabby, chances are they won't do it. So you need to kind of be proactive about preparing all of your steps so that when the chance comes, you're ready. In terms of social media, it's quite straightforward. As I've mentioned in my slides, I use Canva. I actually outsource my social media to a company now, but I didn't for a long time. Just keep a draft template and just copy and paste it. So all I do is I go in, copy and paste the review, change the name, change the description, and change the logo. So these are fairly quick things you can do in Canva, and just drip feed your social media platforms, LinkedIn and Instagram. And you can even put in your WhatsApp status, whatever it might be, with testimonials, because that will add so much to your brand and just parents kind of trusting you. And in terms of website, again, I'm very big on spending the money initially, especially when it hurts. My website, I haven't touched it for 5 years, and I would say it's still at a decent level. But when I started, I had 2 options. There was a £1,000 website, or there was a £2,000 website, and that was a lot of money, and it still is a lot of money. But it pinched even more back then because I was starting off, and I went for the £2,000 one, and I would say it paid me absolute dividends. So find someone that can create you a really good website and get their advice as to where should I put the testimonials. If someone can't kind of guide you with the navigation of a website or where to put testimonials, you probably got the wrong person, if I'm honest. So I would say pay the 10-20% extra, get it to a professional level, because all these things subconsciously add in when a client is thinking, is this the person for me? Brilliant. I'll hand over to you, Julius, if that's okay. And we've got, I guess, 5-10 minutes if anyone else has any other questions.